All right, thank you for staying with us. Right now, we'll talk about the administration of Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State, who took over the reins of affairs of the state. Right about this time on the 27th of November 2022, 3 years yesterday. And so, as stakeholders, and of course, as the fourth estate of the RAM, we're looking into what he has done so far, actually, the promises he made, and of course, if he has been able to keep all of them. Now that is into 75% of the time. Talking about his 4 years, is less than 1 year, at least counting from today, less than a year to go, except the people of the state choose to renew that mandate for him or possibly seek alternatives somewhere else. So what has been able to do, the pillars of his administration, and, what was the welfare of the people of this state like before he came? What is it like now as far as those components lies within his hands? How about the civil service? Statutory things that are supposed to be made, infrastructure, the economy, security of the lives and property of people of the state. We'll be looking into that. But then a cross-section of Osun people, residents and indigents, spoke about what they feel he has done or how the administration has performed. And after that, we speak to a critical stakeholder. Take a look.
Adeleke, who stormed to victory in 2022 on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and was sworn in on the 27th of November of that year, mapped out 5-point agenda that would drive his administration, which include workers' welfare, boosting state economy, implementing homegrown infrastructure policy, affordable healthcare, and agro-based industrialization. 3 years on, a cross-section of Osun State residents grade his performance, highlighting significant strides in infrastructure amid some frustrations in other sectors. In Osogbo, the Osun State capital, the dualization of the old garage Okefia-Lameko Junction, the construction of the Okefia flyover bridge, and the rehabilitation of a number of inner roads have been a major talking points for many. For some residents like Fatai Babatunde, Omoni Yolagbenjo, and Adewumi Ogunwole, the most tangible evidence of the Adeleke administration is the push in infrastructure, particularly road construction and rehabilitation, coupled with workers' welfare, stressing that a number of changes have been recorded across sectors in the state.
For the infrastructure, everybody can see now. This is Okefia now. You cannot compare it with the former, with what has been the way it was last time. But we thank him for giving us this standard bridge. Concerning the health issue, because most of the people we engage on the OIS, and then we thank him for that one. Although that OIS started from the former governor, but this one extended to the pensioner and many others, which is very good for the.
Our trial, Ghanaian, torí àìmọye ìjọba mi tí wọ́n fún ní owó tí wọ́n ti bá sọ pé táìmù pé wọ́n gba owó ọtí wọ́n bá ṣe kí la fẹ́ ṣe fún wọn sáfẹ́ mú wọn níbọ̀ wọ́n ṣe ojú ọ̀nà tó dáa ojú ọ̀nà yẹn ó wà pa inú wa dẹ̀ dùn báyìí ṣe Òṣogbo ẹlòmíì gan tó rọ́lọ́kadà ni mí ẹlòmíì gan tó bá ń bọ̀ ní gbòòrò kò mọ̀nà mọ́.
A rí i pé lákòókò ìgan àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ ìjọba wọn ń gbádùn nípa ti owó oṣù wọn. A rí i pé gbogbo kan lọ bí ó ṣe yẹ kó lọ.
It would be recalled that Governor Adeleke had in October 2023 rolled out a 100 billion naira infrastructural plan, which include the construction of 5 flyovers across the state, with 2 being sited in Osogbo, the 3 others in Ikirun, Ife, and Hede within a year. However, the governor has so far fallen short of this promise, as only the flyover in Okefia, Osogbo, is set to be commissioned. Mr. Babatunde also hopes for the continuation of Governor Adeleke's administration to ensure the delivery of projects embarked upon.
Well, we pray that if this one can go a long way, maybe spend another 4 years for this one to complement what has been done with this one now. We thank God that everything everybody will be looking fine.
Meanwhile, Governor Adeleke's second-term projection has been marred by defection rumors, but some of these residents who laud his achievement are unfazed, stressing that the continuation of his tenure is more crucial.
Concerning the rumors, if he decided to defect, my prayer is that we want him to win for the second term.
So if he thinks defection will really save him, so he can go ahead.
However, these progresses are cracking under the weight of some grievances, particularly in some sectors like education, where Mrs. Ogunwole and Rafiu Abdullahi believe the Adeleke administration is lagging. These residents criticized the failure of the government to employ the 5,000 teachers it promised to employ, lamenting the effect of paucity of teachers across schools in the state.
Educationally, he hasn't performed very well because, as we can see, with the present situation of things right now, many schools really lack teachers. Even go to the hospitals. Rather, drugs, medicines are not there. Of course, the health aspect remains critical. So that is part of the aspect he has failed woefully.
Gbogbo àwọn school bíi government school tó wà, a rí pé àwọn teacher ò tó. Then a rí pé wọ́n ṣe ń ta àwọn kan ṣe exam fún teaching line láìpẹ́ yìí. Wọ́n ṣe interview, wọ́n ti máwọn èèyàn ṣùgbọ́n àwọn tán mú a rí wípé wọ́n fún wọn ní iṣẹ́, wọ́n pé àwọn èèyàn wọlé bóyá kan fún wọn letter, appointment letter kan bẹ̀rẹ̀ iṣẹ́. A rí pé kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀. Tá bá wo àwọn school ìjọba yẹn, a rí pé teacher ò pọ̀ ńbẹ̀ bó ṣe yẹ kí ó rí. Then a fẹ́ kí ètò ẹ̀kọ́, ṣe mọ̀ pé a nílò ètò ẹ̀kọ́.
Mr. Abdullahi says despite the perceived achievement of Governor Adeleke, he has not done enough.
The best is not yet there for him. And I believe when APC comes into power, the best will be delivered for this very Osun State.
As Governor Adeleke eats the 3-year...
All right, that's a report, done by our correspondent where she saw the opinion, of a cross-section of the people living in this state. We have been joined by a gubernatorial candidate, in fact, somebody who was at the ballot with the same Governor Adeleke, when in 2022, he is a public affairs analyst as well, and a politician, obviously. Architect Goke Omigbodun joins us virtually. Good morning, Architect. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Femi. It's my pleasure to be here. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, very well.
Oh, therefore, let me say congratulations to the governor, the government, and the people of Osun State that we are here again today to evaluate whatever had been done in the past few years, but that we are all alive to be part of this. I say congratulations to everyone.
Right, and talking about the evaluation, how would you describe what has happened in the last 3 years? The campaign promises, talking about agro-revolution, the improved economy, security, welfare of the people, the civil service, and all of those things. Critically and as patriotic as you can be, Governor Ademola Adeleke's 3 years in office.
Well, it's interesting to have listened to the people that you interviewed on the streets, and I could see that it's a combination of those who are his ardent critics and those who are his unrepentant followers. But some of us, as much as possible, will give balanced impressions as we are inspired so to do, because it's about Osun State and it's not about anybody in particular. Governor Ademola Adeleke has moved Osun State forward. How much forward is what we need to evaluate. In fact, there is no government in the history of Osun State that left Osun State exactly the way he met it. So to say Governor Ademola Adeleke has moved Osun State forward is saying that, well, he has also been correct to some extent. But let me correct an impression. And I still await anybody to challenge that. There was never a time that Governor Ademola Adeleke had any manifesto as promises to the people. That document never existed. It was after he settled into office, he first came up with a 6-point agenda, which was later trimmed to the 5-point agenda that you speak about today. And if I'm to treat each of those points one after the other, at least after he got into office and he laid them out, he said he's going to do something about workers' welfare. You cannot tell me that workers are exactly at the same that they were before he took office. He has improved workers' welfare. But how well has he improved workers' welfare? Then that has to be evaluated, because the truth of the matter is There is no way, and it's not about Governor Ademola Adeleke alone. It's about the entirety of the Republic of Nigeria and all the governors. I haven't seen any governor who has done enough justice to workers' welfare relative to what the economy dictates right now. Before they all became governors, including Governor Ademola Adeleke, the people were doing so many things at 1/5 of the prices that they are doing those things now. Is it fuel? Is it energy? Is it food? And at the end of the day, you now discover that the workers are being paid hardly 2 times what they were earning before. So, well, they are a little better off in absolute terms, but in real terms, in relative terms, their lives have been worse off. That may not necessarily be attributable directly to the policies of Governor Ademola Adeleke. It's the federal government that led us into all this mess, but a good governor who also wants to make sure that the workers are very well taken care of would seek how he will be sure that the indices that have moved everything into 5 times what it used to be should also move the workers' welfare and packages more forward than they have been. Now let's go on to agro-based industrialization for wealth and job creation. I haven't seen much about that. I saw a number of toys that were supposed to be tractors, and I have not actually felt their impact because I relate well with farmers and I try to do a little bit of farming myself. I haven't seen any industrialization. I would have expected a situation, and I said this when I was campaigning and hoping to be governor of Osun State, that I would have sought that opportunity, and I will think anybody who won that election should have collated the manifestos of the rest of us to see what would these others also have done that would be good for the people of Osun State. Electricity is crucial to any people. Energy should be provided such that industrialization would actually be. And related to that is the issue of security. People need to be able to get to their farms. In fairness to the government of Osun State, Osun is still one of the most peaceful states, one of the most secure states in Nigeria today, but that security is not absolute. It can be better, but again, there's a limit to which you can blame the government of Ademola Adeleke. I think he has even done well to see how he could use the Amotekun within the state, and I must give credit to the Amotekun in the state, not minding a few abuses from the leadership. The followership, the ranks, the files have been doing relatively well. And perhaps if they had done better, then the agro-based industrialization would also have been enhanced, because farmers would be able to produce more, and with electricity, we would have been able to do much better than we have done. Let me move to the third one, people-centered infrastructure, both hard and soft. I see a lot of infrastructure, but I think that they do not reflect sustainable development. They do not have anything to do with what I would call right thinking for the people. This is not a time, and this is not the first time I'm saying it, it's even for the umpteenth time, that this is not the time that we should be having flyovers flying all around. And at the end of the day, even the only one that has been completed, because I live around that area, I see that the challenge I had always foreseen has come to pass. You have made journeys more cumbersome for some of us. I leave my house in the GRA, and I want to go to my office at Iwo Road. I first have to go and turn in front of the government house. We didn't need that flyover. Before we will need that flyover would be ages from now. And in that particular spot, it could have been better designed. But we have spent a lot of billions of naira on that. So to me, honestly, I think that is misplaced infrastructure. That the fund that was put into that should have been put into many more roads within Osogbo, There are still nooks and crannies of Osogbo that do not have tarred roads. And then there are other adjoining communities to Osogbo, so that, because you must remember, I am an architect, I'm an estate surveyor and valuer, so I understand the habitat agenda to make sure that we let people be able to dwell in their rural communities. I would have preferred that money to extend more routes into places like Oba, like Ilie, like other communities around. And you will discover that we didn't, the traffic at Obafemi Awolowo Road in Ikeja that crosses Arumire to Allen Avenue is about 15 to 20 times. I used to think it was 10 times, but I conducted a proper survey about 15 to 20 times of the traffic at Okefia roundabout. That roundabout is misplaced infrastructure and has made the journey of some of us.
Talking about infrastructure, the Olaya Bridge. Yeah, I just want to quickly chip in this that you talked about that has made journey cumbersome. Actually, some will say the fact that you don't like it, or through your observation and the kind of work that you do as architect, you feel it's misplaced, it wasn't necessary. That doesn't mean that's the opinion of others. And, you know, talking about where you live, that you have to go and walk some distance before you make a turn. Some might say that's the way it happens. Actually, it's part of orderliness when you're about to have infrastructure. And so maybe the need for it might actually be in ages. When we say, don't you think you are supposed to give the governor kudos, at least for having something now? No, what I mean is this, for thinking ahead, that instead of the next 10 years, why don't we have it now, so that at least other things can build on it?
No, Femi, you are getting it wrong, with all due respect. I cannot give kudos for something that is misplaced. This is not the time for that. The time for that will be later, and not the design that is there right now. I've told you the traffic at Obafemi Awolowo, Arumire, Allen Junction is 15 to 20 times what we have. They don't have a flyover there. So why are we wasting so much money on that flyover?
So that flyover, as far as you are concerned, is a misplaced priority and a waste of money.
Okay, yeah.
And I've said that severally, and if you allow me to just run through the rest of, please, I mean, that's just my opinion, and I'm giving you an expert opinion because, look, you give me this opportunity, and I do not have a choice than, even if it sounds like I am boasting, I studied architecture, I studied
Take the next 2 minutes to land on your thoughts.
Information systems, and we can put all of these things together to be able to analyze how physical things should be done for sustainable development. And I'm telling you, that's a wrong one.
Go ahead, sir.
Then let me move on to social sector upliftment, education, health, social welfare. I have heard some of your people speak about education, and I align with some of those thoughts. And you remember, I'm also in the education sector. But some of these that even affect education have to do with those resources that have been put into flyover. Some of it should have been put into making sure that we have more equipment and more teachers in the school. Now, WAEC is saying that they want to go into CBT. Is Osun State ready for CBT? Do we even have electricity in the schools at all? I've been talking about this electricity business, and now it's coming to light. The WAEC English paper, just about 3 or 4 months ago, came rather late in the night. Pupils of schools in Osun State were using candle to write the WAEC English. Only some of us who run private schools could provide the electricity for the students to have. These are things that the government of Osun State should have made a basic infrastructure that education could tap into, health could tap into, and the rest of the social sector that they talk about. Now, they also spoke about boosting the state's economy through inclusive economic policies and financial inclusion. I must say that relative to previous governments, the government of Ademola Adeleke has improved in this direction, or that's my perception, that we have quite more of local content. I'm not saying in his own case too, He didn't import some of my friends and cousins. They know themselves and I know them, from the UK, from America, to come and be part of his government, who know next to nothing about what we are doing here. But relative to certain other governments before them, perhaps that has been reduced to some extent. But we still have a lot of that. A lot of his own aides too live abroad. They just earn money from Osun State. You ask me to provide names and addresses, I will dare to do, but yes, I do not want to now, you know. So so when you now look at all of these things, you will see that for anybody, no matter how dull you are, with the resources at the disposal of this government relative to the past government, because when the full subsidy was removed, governors are now earning about 3 to 4 times what they used to earn. At the beginning, the government of Ademola Adeleke did not want to admit that. People like us were talking about it then. They were acting like they were magicians, that some funds were coming from somewhere. But after so much talk and evidences, they admitted that they are earning much more than perhaps the Governor Oyetola had from the federal pulse. So I will say they could do a lot better. But let me also say that they have been hindered by the fact that with very dirty politics from the APC, they are holding on to funds that belong to Osun State people at the federal level. I don't think it is fair to hold on to all the funds. And if it is true that, in fact, some of those funds are being released to the yes and no chairman, I think that is more evil, not only to the government of Osun State, because this is not about Ademola Adeleke alone. It is about all of us, and it is evil. And the APC federal government should repent about that. Release our funds. That is the governor that is there today. And even if we do not have the local governments are under his jurisdiction. Let him have those funds so that he can
Architect Omigbodun, before Tope comes in, thank you for that submission. You know, as they say, that he who alleges must prove. You know, just before now, you talked about you know, the concerns of capital flight and all of those things, or bringing people outside of the state, you know, even outside of the country, to come and superintend affairs in these states. You said Ademola Adeleke has a bit of a quiet departure from that, but that doesn't excuse him from having maybe persons that live abroad, that don't even live here, who earn salaries and all of those things. You will do the Osun people well to name a few. You even said you can name a few. Who are these people?
Let me go and conduct your investigation very well.
No, I didn't do investigation to bring it up. You talked about it yourself, and you said if we dare you to talk about them, you will talk about them. Please go ahead. You have the floor now.
I'm giving you a hint now. Go and do investigation about some persons who are chairman of certain boards, and their children are living abroad, and they are special assistants to the governor. Go and ask some of my own friends and classmates in the secondary school.
Why should I go and go through those troubles when you are the ones who allege? So prove.
I have given enough clue. Go and check. I have given enough clues to you. I'm telling you about my secondary school classmate who lives in the UK and is a special advisor here. Wake up, Femi.
What's his name?
How many secondary school classmates I have? So go and check the list of the people in Adeleke'S government. How many of them attended government college Ibadan that I attended? How many of them could have been terrorists? These are issues. Look, let us face reality, but it is not about as if trying to say that those people should also not enjoy whatever. In fact, you have pushed me too hard. That's why I gave you enough clues.
All right.
You are a journalist. Come find out. I have narrowed down your investigation for you. And there are so many others.
Fair enough.
Families and members of Adeleke that are also there.
All right, architect. All right, architect, let's move on. You've rightly talked about all of the 5-point agenda on which the party of the present governor ran on. It said ladies and gentlemen, you will recall that our party, the People's Democratic Party, campaigned on a 5-point agenda, namely welfare of workers and pensioners, boosting the state's economy, homegrown infrastructure policy, people-focused policy on education, affordable health care, security and social welfare, agro-based industrialization for wealth, and job creation. Those are the 5 points on which he named in his inaugural speech. Now, looking at all of these 5 points now, and how he has delivered on each one of them, how would you rate this present government? Not talking about any other thing, but talking about, he said his party ran on these 5. How well has the party, through him, delivered on these 5 points?
I knew this question would be coming, and I prepared in my mind to be as fair as possible.
Okay.
I'll probably give him about 50%.
50?
Yes, 50.
Why?
Half mark.
Why?
Oh, now you want me to comment. I already commented earlier on. Yeah. I commented on each of those issues, and I analyzed. I'm also a teacher.
But why 50? Why 50? Why not, lesser or more?
Listen, it could not have been lesser because I already analyzed how in each situation he has done a few things better than his predecessors in office. And it couldn't have been more than that because I have also analyzed how he could have done better in certain situations. I have told you, I'm a teacher. By the grace of God, I make boast to say, registered by the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, and I understand how you conduct evaluation. You look at question 1, you give some score. You look at question 2, you give some score. By the time you aggregate all these scores together, you know what is the overall score over the entire marking scheme that you are operating with. And that is exactly what I have done. I've looked at each of those 5-point agenda. I have analyzed how I arrived at certain scores on each of them. And by the time I aggregated them together, I was going to get about 48, 49. And I know a good teacher will not give somebody 48 or 49%. Mark it up to 50 for him so that he feels good. And that's exactly what I have done.
Interesting. You just landed now by saying you are magnanimous by rounding whatever you have given him up to 50, not even a comfortable 50. That's what you say. All right. Now,
I know a lot of things could have been done far better than they have been done.
Is it in terms of capacity or available resources?
Yes, partly because of the resources that are being held by the federal. I've mentioned that. Number 1, the resources made available to him, he has not spent very well. He is spending money on things we yet do not need now, and therefore cannot generate development against the future. And then somebody now is holding on to the rest of the funds that are meant for people of Osun State. They are thinking only about APC and PDP. Those funds are not meant for APC or PDP. They are meant for the people of Osun State. And it doesn't matter to me that it is Ademola Adeleke that is the governor there today. Release the funds to him for goodness sake. And let him spend it for the people of Osun State.
Architect, just to talk about the schools again. Before now, I do not have the stats, but before now, the past administration, you know that we had education in Osun. I'm talking about when you rate, the performances of students. We were below par in Osun. But when this administration came in, it went up. We did better. But then let me talk about some recent strides in infrastructure rehabilitation and school environment. There was massive renovation of dilapidated schools across the state, re-roofing, classroom repairs, sanitation upgrades, perimeter fencing, and all of that. But in contrast with past administrations, Adegbeshola focused on mega schools, leaving many smaller community schools abandoned. Oyetola did limited rehabilitations due to fiscal constraints, right? And on teacher recruitment and welfare, there have been recruitment of new teachers, to address shortages, even though they're still saying that they've not been given. I mean, you heard it from even one of the commentators, from the report, who said, yes, they have not been given their letters to begin, but yes, there was recruitment done. There has been regular payment of salaries as well, and some level of welfare improvements, which present teachers and retirees have been able to attest to. But in other, administrations, we have Aregbesola had open confrontation with teachers' unions and all of those. You had Oyetola prioritizing wage stability, but avoided major recruitment due to financial caution as well. And he did that recruitment just a month, rather, into this present administration. And recall also that this present government, the present governor, he said he was going to reverse some of those actions that were taken by the governor. He said it before he came into office, and he did what he said. How fair would it be, and then talking about some withholding of the local government allowances and all of those? How fair would it be to really judge him, or how would I put it, rate him so harshly on these, looking at these indices?
I don't understand judging him rashly on what, and who is the rash judge?
No, I'm saying that how fair would it be if people, I'm talking about you as an analyst on this show now, what would you say,
yes,
looking at all of these indices, how fair would it be if people were to, put him on the hot seat, or to judge him harshly, looking at all of these indices that have been placed before you now?
Let me answer your question as best as I understand it.
Okay.
I need to first remind everybody that government is a going concern, and therefore the efforts or lack of or inadequacy or even lack of them by a previous administration could determine what happens in your own time as analysis and evaluation of affairs. Because certain things are elastic, some are inelastic. You act on certain things now, you begin to see the results immediately. With others, the results come after 2 or 3 or even 4 years. Some Yoruba proverbs are coming into my mind concerning that. It's sometimes much later that you begin. So when you now talk about statistics in education, some of those statistics will have to do with efforts even of previous governments. So whether the statistics moved up or down, at least the first 2 years of Governor Adeleke's administration would have either a boost or a backlash of the previous of the efforts or inefforts of the previous administration. So when you judge any administration, it is difficult. It's like in audit. When you are auditing, a lot of the times you are not auditing tenures, you are auditing periods. And those periods can overlap from one who was in charge to another person who succeeded him. So it's not always about the immediate governor. But again, this Yoruba proverb that also comes into my mind, that Tony Gobi no re Gobi Gobi. These issues, these problems were there when all of us said we wanted to be governors.
All right.
I understand we have to go right now. It's ongoing conversation, but we most sincerely thank you, Architect Goke Omigbodun, for your time and your take and your assessment, being a critical stakeholder in this state. Thank you very much. All right, we'll take a quick break right now. When we return, we speak to other matters. Good morning, Spring on Western Spring Television. Stay with us.